Here we go.
Oh, greetings from Technology Land. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is such a treat because we have never done a video premiere before in this format. So my name is Hilary Van Welter, and I am the comrade of Danalia Castell. And over to you, Danalia.
Thank you so much. So welcome everyone. My name is Danalia Castell, and I'm the host of The Listening Field. It's a quantum space in which humans and nature elders can meet together and connect, communicate, and co-create. In June of 2022, The Listening Field partnered with Eco-Governance. It's a framework for whole systems healing. And the primary task of eco-governance the first primary task is to ask the question, how do we restore right relationship with the foundations of life? And those include earth, water, air, fire, climate, biodiversity, and the web of life. And so each day, in that week in June, we opened a listening field, and the video clips that we're here to share with you today are first person live from the sharings that people received from Biodiversity during their listening. And this is the beginning of a series of these clips that I'm going to be harvesting from each of the listening fields so that we can bring the wisdom of the nature elders more widely into circulation. Also, as some of you know, Hilary and I have been hosting Eco Labs each month since July, taking at least 4 of these messages that were received from a foundation of life and unpacking them to discover the deeper wisdom in them and the call to action that we might have personally. Anything you'd like to add, Hilary?
Yes, I think I want to add how much things evolve. And how they've evolved since the messages were first received. And in fact, Danalia, you've been talking about moving out of eco relations into evo relations in terms of the broadening of understanding as we move into this unique relationship and beautiful relationship with nature elders, with their kin, with our natural world. They want to play. And they want to be part of this journey. And so it's no longer eco, it's evo, as for evolution. And I think that, this is what's so fascinating on this journey, is having these antennae up that continually pick up these messages in different contexts, in different ways.
Yes, thank you. I will state that the 4 characteristics of the listening field that I was given in the very beginning, which was back in June of 2020, and that are still absolutely fundamental to the listening field today, is that it is open, emergent, responsive, and evolving. And there's many changes. We just had the final one of 2022 happen yesterday morning. And the field was remarkably different. You were there too, Hilary. And even one of the surprising things was you were the one that heard the call from the young beings. I specifically have been focusing on building relations and receiving the wisdom from the nature elders. But you heard a call, and we all felt this really vibrant, excited energy. And it was sort of a cohesive field of young beings, young nature beings that were wanting to have a voice and were wanting to join us. So it's kind of cool.
Those saplings had a lot to say.
And also I'm remembering too, the unborn.
The unborn were also there.
We're also coming through. Yeah. And one other thing that was really quite remarkable yesterday, and this is starting to happen more and more, is that you see in the listening field, each individual calls a nature elder that they are partnered with. And so once the field is established, just imagine it's like a giant Zoom room. And so you've got humans at the table around the circle, and then they've called in 1 or 2 nature elders, and they're sitting around the table with us. So that's that's imaginatively the field that we're in. So of course, what starts to happen is that dialogues between a human and another nature elder that was called in by another person start to happen. As we align in resonance or purpose, maybe that elder is specifically a resonant frequency that's got a message for me in that moment. And so that kind of networking, human to human, and then also we're discovering the networking is happening nature elder to nature elder. So that's been really interesting to have nature elders start to come into actual direct communication with each other who hadn't been, at least that they were aware of or had reason to be aware of before. So, yeah.
And it's like a party because, like in parties, the idea is you bring a friend, that friend doesn't have to stick with you the whole night, actually you bring the friend so they can meet other friends. And so like, that's what happens. It's that you may be the one bringing the nature elder or youngin or whatever in with you, but you're the gateway, and then they can have the time of their lives at the parties.
Beautiful. So we'd like to share the video with you, and it has now premiered on YouTube. And I'll put the link in under the live in Facebook after we're done. But I'm going to share the video from my screen itself. And so it's 6 minutes. And I invite you to just open your heart and your fields to receive this incredible transmission from these beautiful human beings who are sharing what they received through their heart, through their being, from biodiversity. Incredible transmission from these beautiful human beings who are sharing what they received through their heart. Excuse me. From biodiversity. I think we have a double thing going on. One moment, please. There we go. All right. Hear us now. Hear our love. Great beings of life.
The Piscataqua and Sokoke people showed me through the feeling of what it feels like to walk in reverent participatory relationship with the soul of the earth and with love in every step. And it was such a gift to be able to feel that and know that at a deeper level than I've ever known it before.
I mean, the funny part was the very beginning with biodiversity, because it was about honoring all life forms, but specifically, this is from in my backyard, specifically the rats and aphids. And I'm like, oh, please, I know. This property has been newly landscaped, had to be all dug up for reasons of water management. And so it's not yet in right relationship in the new ecosystem. And so some things are out of balance. And it was a perfect example that was very personal to me about how to, focusing on the restoration of that balance and asking in reverence who needs what and so on. So practicing that reverence and calling in the harmony, just calling in the harmony. Because we don't necessarily know what that is where we've disturbed land. I was curious as why Mount Aoraki showed up today. Well, showed me harmony and balance in the Earth's crust. I could see where it was, that balance was, and our need to bring consciousness to where and how we remove minerals from the earth for our use. So, for example, where we've discovered a rich vein of copper, not to take all the copper that is there, not all the available copper. We need to spend time asking for discernment to be shown, which, even for the minerals, very important, which should be removed and which must stay for the benefit of the whole, and then respect the reply.
Having a lot of trouble with my eyes for the past year and a half. And so what happened is I went under the surface of the sea, and I saw all the creatures, the diversity of all the creatures that have eyes. And so, and this octopus came to me with these wonderful eyes. And so he was, or she was, the representative of eyes as the collective. I ended up really feeling a level of trusting these eyes under the sea, trust that they would die if it was needed, knowing that it was a part of the evolutionary unfolding.
The Council of Mirror Grove, they described it as being a holographic expression of the source of all life. They added to that was that as we honor and nurture this within ourselves, that will be reflected back to us by life around us. It cannot be otherwise.
I did hear some additional messages about I'm sorry, about things dying off. And for me, I've had a lot of loss recently. So I didn't want to receive that part of the message. I felt like, oh, that's just you and your emotions. That's what's going on with you in your real life. But then when I saw Dadalia write something about you have parts of you have to die and things have to die in order to change. And then someone else wrote it, and I think Linda did too. I was like, oh my God, that was a part of the message. It was a reminder for me not to resist what I hear just because I think it's something relative to my current life. The message is the message, and I need to learn to more trust the message no matter what it says.
I mean, with no Kopila, I mean, why she just was this thing about humans need to feel the full range and the diversity of their emotions. And I was like, yeah, okay, but it's like, what has that got to do with, well, I don't really know. But the other piece of it that I received was about the mystery, how critical it is for us to include the mystery and to revere mystery, because that creates the conditions in us to be open, to be humble, and to be open to new ideas and to the wisdom of others.
And the pine tree people were just longing for deeper connection, for longing for acknowledgement. And I could feel that as well. And I can relate to that because many of us need that. I mean, it's part of life. It's part of living with a heart.
Hear us now, feel our love, oh great life force of the universe. You're still muted.
I think we need to all take a big collective breath together after experiencing that. I'm so moved by the voices and the vibration of the sound of the messages. In the past, we've worked with the messages in beautiful memes with beautiful graphics, but there's something that is so wonderful to have the voice And I see, I see Deborah here as one of those beautiful voices. And I think that what, again, I want to applaud from all of the nature elders that spoke, as well as their human connections, is the diversity of the messaging. It wasn't one theme that ran through everything. There was loss, but there was also the idea of collective eyes. There was the soul of the earth that was brought through. There was the idea of mystery. There's the concept of the holographics that are involved. Like it was so bubbling with diversity that it represented the nature of what I think we're being asked to explore with biodiversity, and not just from the science of it.
I really like that idea. Even, if I was going to actually define biodiversity, there's part of me, and there are definitions, of course, but there's part of me that goes, why bother? Like, why try to dissect something that already knows who it is in its fullness, and instead let that word just be a doorway to discovering a new lens or a new perception? It's really, and then the other piece that's really strong for me, and this is, of course, what we do in the Unpacking Eco Labs that we do. We have one next week where we're unpacking these messages from biodiversity. What we do is track what words keep echoing in your being from those messages. And in this case, it's this call to harmony. When Ingrid talks about just call to harmony, for harmony to be reestablished on the land. And it reminds me that, when we have a problem, we want to go to the solutions. We want to figure it out, or we feel guilty because we made the problem. So we figure we need to fix it. And yet biodiversity and the web of life, and Mother Earth, they know how to do this. They're the experts. And so simply making that strong, committed call to harmony, like, it was just such simplicity to that. It was like, wow, we can pour a lot of love, energy, and frequency into that call. And then, stay present, but step back and let our nature elders, let Mother Earth show us how to reestablish it, rather than go into this action where we're presenting solutions where we don't necessarily know the effect of that either.
And I think I'm reflecting on, we're coming up on and we're probably going to be unpacking this as well, the winter solstice, and in the northern hemisphere, and certainly the solstice in the southern hemisphere, where the whole playing with light. And I think that winter for many of us in the northern hemisphere, that represents a turning point. It is the darkness. It is going into the darkness, and we think about it as ending, and a death of a cycle. Often it's referred to, and yet it's just a turning point. And if we think of death as a turning point, and not as that's it for you, then maybe we'd understand loss and appreciate loss in a different way. And I think that's what biodiversity is also trying to show us, is our language is really something that gives us an opportunity to explore. Is it death, or is it a turning point?
Beautiful, beautiful. And welcome, Deborah. I wanted to just, give you an opportunity here. What I found, again, in the theme of biodiversity, we sometimes get human nature elders, human ancestors, right, come into the field, asked to come in, and are named and invited, and everyone is welcome. That's that open part of the listening field. And so, and I very deliberately chose to include the first part of your sharing, that the Indigenous people had shown you and given you an experience, and then to close with the message from the Pine Tree people. If you'd like to unmute, and is there anything that you would like to share in this moment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all the work that you've been doing, and all the work that all of you are doing, because it's part of that diversity. We each have a gift to offer, and we each have a gift to perceive that maybe hasn't been perceived yet, that is honoring to the elders, to all of nature, to the mother, to the water, all of it. And so as we perceive these gifts that we are being given, there is a great, great honoring that happens. And the reciprocity and the complementarity that comes from that is regenerating for all life. And it feels to me that, one of the questions that came up, it's like, why do we have to feel all this? And one of the responses that I got to that question, because I know that we're all empaths, and that is one of the gifts that we've been given, to be able to feel the communications. And what the mother said to me is that it is really important that you feel my pain, because otherwise you don't know that you are one with me. You don't know that what you do to me, you do to yourselves. And that is, as many tears as I have shed over what's happening in the world these days, and in particular to the earth, I find it, I've been able to switch my languaging with that and see it as an absolute gift, because I can do more good if I have that deep understanding. I know what it feels like to be desecrated, because I have felt the desecration of the earth. And I know the knowing is deeper. So therefore the wisdom becomes deeper, and the ability to not fix anything, but to offer what is missing, which ultimately is love and compassion, or compassionate love, or any mix thereof. But seeing, as we feel into what's happening in the world, we can feel into what is missing. And when we have that awareness, we can make a shift to actually shift our frequency to that frequency of that which is missing. And when we add that back into the equation, it cannot not be in the outcome. It has to be part of our experience. And we have so much power to be able to do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Hillary, any last words before we close? Oh.
I'm just excited to be able to unpack these messages next week. We're always amazed. That's one of the constants, is the amazement about how these messages land with different people, and how they speak to different people in different ways. And I think the idea of the feeling system being a form of intelligence is something that I think that really plays up in these unpacking sessions, because and what we want to do with this message, and what action do we want to take. And this is all new forms of social research that we're undertaking, which is so exciting. So please, anybody listening to this, come and join us next Tuesday. Denley's got all the details.
Yes, I'm just coming back here to the share screen function. So yes, all information you can find out about the Unpacking the Messages from Biodiversity next Tuesday is at thelisteningfield.life. It's a 2-hour experience, completely experiential, and you don't need to have been in a listening field or been in this particular listening field either to participate. So here again is the website, thelisteningfield.life. And also you'll see other events that are there that are happening in December to close out our year of human and nature elder relations. So please enjoy and share the video. I'll put the link. It's up on YouTube now. I'll put the link in the underneath in Facebook in a post, and it's also on the listening field itself and at the website. And please subscribe to the channel and like and click the notification bell when you're there. This is there's climate video up there now, biodiversity, and there's more coming out of these beautiful consultations with our nature elders. So be well, and thank you everyone for joining and for watching.